Welcome everyone to tonight's council meeting. I'm the Mayor, Councillor Virginia Targos. I declare this meeting open at 7:01 p.m. I would like to welcome the members of the public who have joined us in the chamber tonight and online. Members of the public attending council meetings are expected to behave respectfully at all times and not permitted to engage with the councillors or council officers during the course of the meeting. This includes directing loud and inappropriate comments towards councillors and officers or making noise that impacts council's ability to conduct its meeting. All persons present tonight have a right to feel safe and treated with respect. Council will not tolerate any behaviour that threatens the safety of anyone present in the chamber or which disrupts the ability for council to conduct its business on behalf of the community. You will be asked to leave the meeting if your behaviour is inappropriate, disruptive or rude. All members of the gallery are required to pre-register their attendance at council meetings to support a safe and secure environment for all participants whilst allowing council to conduct an orderly meeting. In the event of an emergency, please follow the direction of the council officers and the emergency procedures on the wall near the door. Channel 31 has been given permission to live stream this meeting. A recording of the meeting will be published on council's website. Please stand for the acknowledgement of country. On behalf of Brimbank City Council, I respectfully acknowledge and recognise the Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung peoples as the traditional custodians of this land and pay respect to elders past, present and future. I ask councillors to remain standing for the council commitment. Others may be seated. As the council, we will act in the best interests of Brimbank community and consider all the immediate and long-term impacts of our decisions. We will make these decisions fairly and without bias. We will uphold all our obligations under the laws of Victoria and council's local laws and will act in accordance with the Model Councillor Code of Conduct. Councillors, please be seated. Item number 3, apologies and leave of absence. Councillor Ranka Rasic is on leave of absence from the 31st July 2026 to the 4th of September 26. Councillor Daniel Crook has requested leave of absence from the 19th of August 26 to the 7th of September 26. May I have a mover of the motion to approve this request? Councillor Borg.
I'll move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Trung.
I second model on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Motion carried. Item number 4 is disclosure of conflicts of interest. Councillors, are there any declarations of conflict of interest? Item number 5 is designation of items as confidential. May I have a mover of a motion to designate an item as confidential? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Maria Kerr.
I move the motion as the shared screen.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Nikolic.
I'm happy to second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I put that to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried. Item 6 is confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. May I have a mover of a motion to confirm the minutes of the previous meeting? Councillor Borg.
I'll move the motion as per shared screen.
Seconder, please. Councillor Trung.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second more online on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a vote? All those in favour? Motion carried. Item number 7 is condolences. Councillors, there are 2 items of condolence this evening. 7.1, we have a condolence motion for Van Viet Trung. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Trung.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the motion lie on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Tui Dang.
I second it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Dear Madam Mayor and fellow councillor, I write to acknowledge the life and passing of Mr. Vic Van Trung, the respected member of the Sunshine community who tragic death have deeply saddened his family, friends, and our wider community. On behalf of the President, I extend my sincere condolences to Mrs. Ling Trung, their children, relatives, and loved ones during this difficult time. I was honored to attend Mr. Trung's funeral service and to stand alongside to many people who gathered to celebrate his life. The large attendance to reflect the deep respect and affection that so many people to have for him. Mr. Chung was in particularly hard-pressed king because of occurring while he was attempting to assist another person. His action demonstrates inquiry, selflessness, and compassion, quality that reflect the way he lived his life. As a fellow Vietnamese referee, I feel a personal connection with Mr. Chung in jury. Like many Vietnamese referees, Mr. Chung educated great hardship before arriving in Australia. He spent time in Polo Pidong referee camp during the period of uncertainty and exciting for many referees. Before reaching the safety, many had survived dangerous sea, jury, facing storm, fire sea, deprivation, and loss. The greatest hardship, Mr. Chung never lost hope. When Australians gave him the opportunity to begin a new life, he embraced it with determination, gratitude, and unwavering commitment to his family. After arriving in Australia in the year 1990, he worked tirelessly to build a future to honest, individual, and personal certified. Together with his family, he established a Hong Hung grocery business in Sunshine in 1998 and became a familiar and respected figure within the local community. For many years, his day began before sunrise as he traveled to wholesale market to future press produce to his customer. He worked a long hour, not for recognition, but for provide for his family and risk opportunity for his children. Yet too, who know Mr. Chung will remember his quick much more than his hard work. He was known as a kind, humble, and generous man. He supports charity causes, contributes to temple and church, and was always willing to help others. He treats people with the respect and dignity and general touch many lives. When I reflect on Mr. Trung's life, I see men who overcome hardship and uncertainty to reach a better future for his family. I see developed husband, a loving father, a hardworking small business owner, and a person who never forgot to important to help each other. Having attended to his funeral service, I was deeply moved by the love and respect shown by so many people. It reminded me that the first and a true legacy is not measured by what they own, but they life, they touch. To Mr. Chung and your children, please know that your husband and father were deeply respected and genuinely loved by this community. His life was one of dignity, generosity, and service. His legacy will live on to his family, to the value he passed on, and to the many people who live he touching. Although he no longer with us, his contribution to Sunshine will not be forgotten. Can I say something in Vietnamese? Kính chào chị Trương Liên cùng toàn thể tang quyến. là một người đồng hương và cũng là một người từng trải qua hành trình tị nạn như anh Trương Văn Việt. Tôi vô cùng đau buồn trước sự ra đi của anh. Từ những ngày gian khó nơi trại tị nạn Buôn Bê Đông, đến khi xây dựng được một gia đình hạnh phúc và một cơ sở kinh doanh tại Sơn Sai, anh đã sống một cuộc đời đầy nghị lực, trách nhiệm và lòng nhân ái. Điều mà mọi người luôn nhớ về anh không chỉ là sự chăm chỉ mà còn là tấm lòng rộng lượng, sự tử tế và tình yêu thương anh dành cho gia đình và cộng đồng. Xin thành kính phân ưu cùng chị và hai cháu, cầu chúc hương hồn anh Trương Văn Việt được an nghỉ đời đời. Anh Trương Văn Việt sẽ luôn được nhớ đến và trân trọng trong lòng gia đình, bạn bè và cộng đồng ở Sunshine. May Mr. Việt Văn Trương rest in the peace. May his memory will be eternal, and may his family find strength to love and support that surround him today. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Dang, would you like to speak?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to join with Councillor Truong in expressing our deepest sorrow at the passing of Mr. Viet Truong, a long-standing and much-loved Sunshine business owner. His loss had touched many across our community. Mr. Truong was not only a dedicated shopkeeper, but a kind, familiar presence who served generations of local families with care and respect. We extend our heartfelt condolences to his family, friends, and all who are grieving. The pain of the tragedy is felt widely by neighboring traders, by customers who knew him well, and by the broader Sunshine community who valued his contribution and his quiet strength. May his family find comfort in the love and support surrounding them, and may our community continue to stand together with compassion and unity. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dang. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Borg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would also like to join my fellow councillors in passing my condolences to Viet's family, friends, and the broader community. No words can describe the raw emotions of grief. Viet paid the ultimate price for his act of kindness. He certainly epitomizes the values of a good citizen in more ways than one. As such, he is leaving a trail of light in the hearts of so many people in our municipality and beyond.
Thank you, Councillor. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Crook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a tragedy. This is a tragedy on so many levels. I mean, we are talking about 5 children here involved in, from 12 to 15 involved in the alleged assault. How have we failed so hard to allow our flock to it's terrible. In the community, he was known as Uncle Viet, and for those of you not aware, it's a term of endearment to call someone uncle. And that's what he was known. He was known as Uncle Viet in the community by the traders, by the residents, by the customers, by everyone that came by. And in fact, I spoke with him just months before where he brought up this exact issue, public safety, and he had concerns for it. He left Vietnam for a better life, and he left for the safety of his family and for the safety of himself. And he came to Australia for a better life. And he settled down here in the west of Melbourne and opened up a shop here in Hampshire Road, where he owned and operated that shop for over 3 decades. I mean, I'm talking about more than a quarter of a century. He was one of the first traders to establish here on Hampshire Road, and he paved the way forward for other traders who he encouraged to set up locally in the area. He was known as a kind friend and a carer for others, whether they be traders or customers or just passers-by. And on the day of the incident, that's exactly what he was doing. He was looking out for his fellow community and traders. I wish to pass on my sincerest condolences to the family, and thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Kerr.
Tonight, I want to take a moment to remember Mr. Van Viet Trung, a man who should still be here with his family, his friends, and his community. Mr. Trung showed incredible bravery in circumstances no person should ever face. His courage should be remembered, but so should the person behind the tragedy, a valued member of Sunshine community whose life mattered. To Mr. Trung's family, I extend my deepest and most heartfelt condolences. I cannot imagine the pain of losing someone you love in such a sudden and devastating way. To the Sunshine traders and our wider community, I want you to know that we grieve with you. As a local councillor, I am deeply saddened by this loss. Mr. Trung will never be forgotten. May his courage be remembered. May his family find strength and comfort in the love around them. And may our community come together to honour his memory. Rest peacefully, Mr. Trung. Your life mattered, your courage mattered, and you'll never be forgotten.
Thank you. Councillor Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also want to acknowledge the tragic death of Uncle Van Vic Jung and extend my condolences to his family and everyone impacted, and echo what my fellow councillors have said. Uncle Viet was a kind man, and so many members of our community share memories with Uncle Viet, from customers, long-time customers who receive rice deliveries from Uncle Viet directly, from customers who where Uncle Viet, where Uncle Viet received cash, and instead of accepting the full amount, he gave them discounts. There are so many instances where we have shared memories and experiences with Uncle Viet, and the death of Uncle Viet is such a heartbreaking loss to our community. He'll be treasured. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillor? Councillor Nikolic.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Usually I prepare for council meetings, but I stared long and hard at the paper last week since I found out about this loss. It's hard to describe. It's tragic. It's senseless. Everything the rest of the councillor group touched on, upsetting, horrific, unnecessary. Our whole community is in mourning. We're in mourning of someone who poured so much energy into making Sunshine the vibrant community that we know. He built a lasting legacy. It wasn't just a shop that he had, it was a place where people gathered, caught up with each other, where children laughed, where most of my childhood memories were formed on that strip. I'd just like to acknowledge that he was the very best of our community, that we extend our deepest condolences to his family and his legacy.
Thank you. Councillor, anyone else? Councillor Bausch.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I echo my fellow councillors in extending our deepest condolences to Van Viet Trung's family, friends and colleagues. Mr. Trung was beloved and a respected business owner of Hong Kong Grocery for more than 30 years, as stated prior, one of the longest on Hampshire Road. He fled from a war-torn country and came to Australia as a refugee and has been here for more than 40 years. He was well known for his kindness, hard work, and was loyal to the people around him. Mr. Trung's shocking death from his heinous crime has left his family heartbroken. A wife without a husband, kids without a father, and our community still in absolute shock. Many in Sunshine knew Mr. Trung as someone who always was willing to give a helping hand. He was very established and had deep roots in his community. Mr. Trung's passing has deeply saddened everyone. Our thoughts are with everyone who knew him and loved him, including the people across the Vietnamese and business community who's been heavily affected by this tragic loss. As we remember Mr. Trung, we value and are reminded of the importance of safety and secure communities Traders and employees deserve to feel safe at work and also in their neighbourhoods. And let this tragedy serve as a reminder that we must unite and work together for stronger laws, effective crime prevention, rehabilitation, and a safer community for all. I was actually here right in this building just after the incident, and I had a clear view as Mr. Trung's stores pretty much across the road. And the responses of the community was instant, raw, and utmost concern. And it's about coming together to support one another with those affected and continuing to provide well-being support to Mr. Trung's family, his community, and everyone impacted across the days and weeks and months ahead. Rest in peace, Uncle Van. Your bravery and honesty will never be forgotten, and thank you for serving our community.
Thank you, Councillor. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Pham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to echo what been said by fellow councillor. Just want to share my condolences to the families of Mr. Van Viet Trung, but also being acknowledged that the difficulty that small business owner have to go through and then end up like this is worthless. And well, more or less to say, if I add more, that would just add up to what been said. So I just want to share my condolences.
Thank you, Councillor. I would also like to take this time to formally acknowledge and pay tribute to the late Van Viet Trung. Viet's tragic passing has devastated our entire community, a wave of grief that has rippled right through across our municipality and far and beyond. Viet was so much loved in Sunshine. He was a pillar of our community, well known by all for being a generous supporter, a helping hand, and a kind friend to his fellow traders, neighbours, and to customers. On behalf of the Brimbank community, I would like to celebrate and honour Viet for his wonderful contribution to sunshine and to life in our city over the last 30 years. On behalf of Council, I extend our deepest sympathies to Viet's family, friends, and all those who loved him. I want to recognise the immense grief and sadness they are feeling right now and the incredibly devastating loss they are experiencing. I hope they know that we are all holding them in our hearts. This tragedy has hurt and frightened our local traders, our workers, our shoppers, and our visitors. It has changed the way our community and traders feel about Sunshine and one of our most loved and bustling community places. We are deeply committed to doing all we can in honour of Viet, to restore our community's confidence and to ensure their safety so that everyone feels safe and free to visit and enjoy Sunshine again, where Viet's memory will live on. May you rest in eternal peace, Mr. Trung. Thank you all for your incredible contribution you made to our city and to our community. I would now like to ask everyone to be upstanding to join me for a minute's silence in memory of Mr. Trung. Rest in peace, Mr. Trung. Be seated. Thank you. Councillors, we move to the second condolence motion, 7.2. Can I put the motion to the vote, the condolence motion to the vote? All those in favour? Motion carried. 7.2, we have a condolence motion for Tuong Din Nguyen. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Trung. And a seconder? Councillor Pham. Councillor Trung, would you like to speak to the condolence motion?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I write today to express my deepest condolences to the passing of Mr. Tường Dinh Nguyễn, a highly respected member of our Vietnamese community and a familiar voice through the Vietnamese radio 97.4 FM. Mr. Nguyen was much more than the radio presenter. He was a dedicated community volunteer who devoted countless time to supporting and connecting people across the wider Vietnamese community. Through his work with community organizations, temples, church, cultural groups, and charitable activity, he helped to change the community's spirit and foster a center of belonging for many people. For many years, his voice on Vietnamese radio 97.4 FM, informal, connected, and inspired listeners. He used his platform not only for share information, but also to promote community value, cultural understanding, and support for truth in his commitment to serve others earning him the respect and admiration for many around our community. Mr. Nguyen Sudanese passing had left profound senses of loss. His heart deeply saddened his parents, family, relatives, friends, and the many community members whose lives he touched. The extraordinary attendance at his funeral service, with more than 500 people coming together to pay their respect, were testament to the impact he has on so many lives and in the attention in which he was held. While we mourn his loss, he also celebrates a life of service, generous, and community spirit. His legacy will rely on to the many people he helped, the organization he supports, and the lasting contribution he made for the Vietnamese community. On behalf of the Council, I extend our sincere condolences to Mr. Nguyen's family, loved ones, and all those who are grieving his passing. May they find comfort in knowing that his life made a meaningful difference to many people. May Mr. Tường Dinh Nguyen rest in the peace, and may his memory continue to inspire us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pham, would you like to speak?
Briefly, Madam Mayor, through you. So, his Tung Yin was a broadcasting person for many years. He was a familiar, expressive voice associated with FM 97.4. Through his radio broadcast, he contributed actively to preserving the Vietnamese language, promoting traditional culture, and fostering the spiritual life of Vietnamese in Australia. I remember when first very few years that I was in Australia, I was very homesick, and the internet wasn't that popular. There no such chatting box or thing. It was quite expensive. Radio was things that people wait every day to at certain time to listen to the news. To also this radio station also let people call in and request for song, exchange conversation like to related topic, and it was quite informative and entertaining. And supporting to Vietnamese community back then. And further to what the internet more open and then the radio was kind of dying down, he's actually involved in Buddhist media contribution toward Quang Duc Temple As a technician and content contributor and a principal voice-over announcer for numerous Buddhist lectures and materials on Quang Duc Temple, I would deeply want to send my condolences to his family and pay respect to whatever he contributed to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Dang?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to join with Councillor Chung and Councillor Pham in expressing our heartfelt condolences on the passing of Mr. Trung Yin Nguyen, a long-serving and much respected Vietnamese radio presenter. His loss is deeply felt across our Vietnamese community and here in Brimbank. I first met Trung Yin when I moved to Melbourne 18 years ago. From the very beginning, he was warm, kind, and full of humor. The sort of a person who makes you feel welcome straight away. As Councillor Truong and Councillor Pham mentioned, he was a talented radio presenter who brought news, culture, and connection to thousands of Vietnamese listeners. His passing leaves a significant void to all who knew him, worked with him, or listened to him. May his family find strength in the love surrounding them. Rest in peace, Mr. Trung Yin Nguyen. Thank you.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? I put the condolence motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried. Dear councillors, I'd also like to say that it's been quite a heavy month for us. I'd like to also express a heartfelt thank you to all who have extended your condolences and prayers to my family and I during this time of bereavement and heavy loss. No words will ever express the depth of grief for my niece, Tassia Tarkos Patterson, whose love will light the way and forever stay in our hearts. Thank you. I move to item number 8, congratulations. There are no items of congratulations this evening. Item number 9 is public question time. Before we move to public question time, I would like to note that there are a number of ways that the community may ask questions or provide feedback to council outside of public question time process. This includes submitting inquiries or feedback through council's website, phoning council, visiting council's service desk and contacting councillors directly. These options help ensure matters can be directed through appropriate channels and followed up. Mr. Belava, are there questions today?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have a number of questions tonight. Firstly, in accordance with Governance Rule 55.16, in the interest of maximising the number of questions and time, the preamble to some questions will not be read out but will appear in the minutes. Our first question is from Adrian Lee, who asks, will Council implement a smoking and public drinking ban in the Sunshine CBD?
Thank you. Drinking or being in possession of an unsealed container of alcohol in a public place without a permit is prohibited in Brimbank. In addition, the Sunshine CBD is a designated area under the Victorian liquor legislation, and Victoria Police may use additional exclusion powers in specified circumstances involving alcohol-related violence or antisocial behaviour. Under the Tobacco Act 2017, smoking and the use of e-cigarettes is prohibited in certain public places as well, including within 4 metres of an outdoor dining area. Council can investigate these breaches where they are reported. Council works proactively with Victoria Police and Community Health and Support Services in response to the often complex service needs of people who consume alcohol and other drugs in public places.
Adrian has asked another question which relates to an operational matter and will be answered outside of public question time. Our next question is from Taylor Carney on behalf of Brimbank Youth Services, who asks, what is Brimbank City Council doing to make crossing the road as a pedestrian safer on Forest Street are dear.
As part of the recent rehabilitation works along Forest Street, Council has installed multiple pedestrian refuges to assist with pedestrians crossing this road. These works will be completed during August 26. To improve pedestrian safety outside RD train station, Council officers are proposing the installation of a raised pedestrian crossing across Forest Street and are exploring the viability of a pedestrian-operated signal. Subject to the outcome of these explorations, a solution is anticipated to be confirmed during the current financial year.
Taylor's second question is, in the Brimbank area, I've noticed that many people are facing homelessness. What can Brimbank Council do to support people facing this problem?
Thank you for this question. Council recognises homelessness and is one of our big priorities as a significant community issue and a key advocacy priority. We work closely with the homelessness services, Victoria Police, government agencies and community organisations to connect people with housing, health and support services, coordinate responses to rough sleeping and address community safety concerns. Council also continues to advocate to state and federal government for more affordable housing and the long-term support needed to prevent and reduce homelessness. More information can be provided on the Council's response to homelessness on the website. I'd also like to thank a lot of the charities and the outreach groups, faith groups and neighbourhood houses, places like the Tin Shed and other groups that continue to support those who are at risk and are experiencing homelessness.
Nesta Evangelista asks, the 2022 Brimbank Transport Priorities paper proposed introducing a new bus route to link Sunshine and Brimbank Shopping Centre via Carnley Drive. However, the newly launched bus route 405 instead connects to Deer Park Station. Connecting to Sunshine would have provided passengers with better access to metro trains, as well as V-Line trains, making it a more convenient hub. At present, there are many bus routes that run every 40 minutes and finish early at night. Is there anything that the council can do about this poor service?
Thank you for your question. Council will continue its advocacy for improvements to bus services that improve connectivity in and around Brimbank, including an increased span of operational hours, earlier starts and later finishes, as well as more frequent bus services. I can assure the community that at every meeting that I attend, whether it's an MP or a candidate, this very issue is one of the top priorities in terms of bus reforms, and we've outlined at least 10 bus routes that can, through improving efficiency, make a huge and quick difference to our community and uplift transport accessibility.
Debbie Stefanowski asks, why did councillors not consider residents' opinions and formally notify affected landowners of the industrial development at 179 Tilburn Road?
The application for the approval of the development plan for 179 Tilburn Road was advertised to all properties within approximately 200 metres on June the 2024. No submissions were received opposing the application.
Debbie has also asked, why did councillors approve the 40-metre high and very large warehouse which is being constructed closest to homes in Esmond Street and not considered the opinions and impact this would have on affected landowners?
The warehouse currently being constructed was approved under the delegation from council. The warehouse is consistent with approved development plan and therefore it was exempt for the public notification requirements set under the Section 52 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There are no further questions.
We move to item number 10, which is petitions. There are no petitions to be received this evening. Item 11 is minutes and reports of delegated committees. There are no delegated committee reports. So we move to item number 12, which is officer reports. There are tonight 11 officer reports for consideration by council. If you have your own motions this evening, you must draft these motions and provide them to the governance team via email so that they may be shared on the screen and form part of the meeting. Otherwise, we may have to defer the matter until the motion has been written, allowing the meeting to proceed uninterrupted. We move to 12.1, Community Safety Response, Advocacy and Trader Support in Brimbank Activity Centres. I'll just hand over to Director Hill for that report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report responds to the significant community and trader concerns about safety in Sunshine, St Albans and across Brimbank following the tragic death of Mr Van Viet Trung. It outlines the actions Council has taken within its role, the concerns raised by local traders in the community, and the further advocacy and coordinated response proposed. The report provides an opportunity for Council to consider these matters and the ways in which Council can continue to support our community and advocate for the responses needed. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions to the Director, councillors? If not, can I have a mover for this report? Councillor Crook.
I move the report as per the shared screen.
Can I have a seconder? Councillor Farm.
I second report at per screen. Thank you.
Councillor Crook, would you like to speak to the report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So unless you've been living under a rock, you might have observed that crime has increased in the west of Melbourne year on year. And I mean, this is not a new topic. Councillors here, Brimbank Council, have been talking about this and advocating for this entire term and last term. You know, we've been calling for more action. And as the ward councillor for Sunshine, I can tell you firsthand, I've heard stories of no prompt action being received, you know, calling 000, smashed restaurant shop windows, traders frightened. I've also heard of stories of stolen water meters, and there's footage of it happening, and all the footage and everything's provided to police, but no action is followed up. I've heard a lot about this, and the difficult thing is that we as Brimbank, we are not a policing authority, and we don't have control over the police. That is a state government thing. We don't have control over the PSOs either. What we can do is advocate to the police and advocate to the state government for more safety measures. And what we can do as well is environmental design, which we're currently exploring, and exploring psychological safety measures for our environmental design and how we can contribute. So I thank the Mayor for her steadfast advocacy on this, and I thank all councillors for contributing to the advocacy on this, and I move the report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Farm.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would stand heavy hurt to acknowledge the tragic passing of long-standing local business owner and community member, Mr. Van Viet Trung, but following the assault on Hampshire Road. But what happened to Mr. Trung have deeply shaken our entire municipality. Over the past week, we have seen an incredible roundwell of public grief and determination, including a Change.org petition demanding justice and action that already gathered over 38,000 signatures, alongside with hundreds of residents who rally outside Sunshine Library. I want to acknowledge that there have been a number of petitions and call to action circulating across our community, urging both council and the state government to step up. We have heard the clear concern raised by our resident trader and the St. Albans Traders Business Group. I'm also committed to continue to look at every possible way we can address the concern and make our streets safer. I really welcome the increase of police presence on our street over the past fortnight and their support in enforcing local public alcohol laws. And I strongly endorse the commitment in this motion for comprehensive safety assessments, starting with Sunshine as an immediate priority, followed direct by St. Albans Activity Centre and other shopping presence. Our trader on Hampshire Road on our Frida Street and across all our activities present are lifeblood of Brimbank. We must keep working alongside Victoria Police, Trade Association and state leader to fund bribery prevention, health outreach, and youth engagement so that safety is sustained for a long time. We cannot allow Mr. Trung's sacrifice of voices of tens of thousands of people to be ignored. I commend this motion to Chamber and I call on Council to remain steadfast in ensure every safety commitment promises to our community is fully delivered. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Kerr.
I speak tonight with a heavy heart. Mr. Van Viet Trung's death must not be in vain. But I also want to say something clearly. It should never have taken this tragedy for governments to recognise the safety concerns of our community. We've been raising this for years. Our residents have been telling us they don't feel safe. Our traders have been telling us they need greater support. We've been calling for more police, greater visibility, stronger action on antisocial behaviour for years. So while I welcome this action, I have to say this knee-jerk response from government is deeply frustrating because these concerns are not new. Where was the urgency before someone lost their life? We cannot continue to wait for tragedy before we act. We need more police, more funding, and a sustained commitment to community safety in Brimbank. And we need to recognise that policing alone will not solve this. We need long-term approach to antisocial behaviour, including meaningful support for disengaged youth. We need early intervention for youth services, mental health support and pathways back into education, employment and our community. Because prevention is far better than constantly responding after something has gone wrong. I want our local traders to know that I stand with you. I want our residents to know that I hear you. And I want the Sunshine community to know that Council will continue to advocate strongly for resources and support you deserve. So tonight, let's make this more than another announcement. Let's make it a turning point. Let's properly ask the state government to fund our police, invest in prevention and address the causes of this antisocial behaviour. Let Mr. Van's death not be in vain. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dang.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I could like to join other councillors to acknowledge the swift and coordinate response from the Mayor, councillors, the CEO and the Director, acting quickly to meet the traders, working with the police, supporting staff and advocating directly to the Victorian government. We also acknowledge the increased police presence in Sunshine over the past 2 weeks and enforcement support for council alcohol consumption laws. And we know that council had removed 2 picnic tables and associated sitting on Hampshire Road following the requests of Sunshine Traders and the Sunshine Business Associations. And the action continue on safety assessment for Sunshine and St. Owen activity centres, ongoing engagement with Sunshine Business Association and St. Owen Trader Association, collaboration with business and tourism partners to promote Sunshine and wider Brimbank as a destination, and also coordination through established safety partnership and place-based response. So in this report show a response grounded in urgency, compassion and determination. We honour Mr. Trung's memory by strengthening safety, supporting traders and ensuring our activity centre remain welcoming and secure for everyone. I commend this report to Council.
Thank you, councillors. Councillor Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the chair, I really feel for our local traders, retail workers, and community members. The tragic death of Uncle Van Viet Trung was a tragic loss that was preventable. Everyone deserves to feel safe at work, doing the groceries, to study or play in our municipality. But right now, too many people don't. And Brimbank has repeatedly been neglected when it comes to funding, support, and action we need to prevent crime, not just to react to it. We need solutions that work, not the same old failed approaches. I understand traders and retailers feel safer with the increase in police presence, so I welcome patrols as a short-term band-aid solution. The community is justifiably rattled and afraid, but knee-jerk reactions will not provide us with long-term sustainable solutions. I welcome the stronger advocacy Council has undertaken the last few years and the funding commitment from the state government. We need to address the root issues in community safety, which is inequality, homelessness, education, youth disengagement, mental health, family violence, gambling harm, and drug and substance abuse. And to address these issues, the state government needs to fund prevention programs. So instead of react to crime after the fact, we are preventing crime. Thank you.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Borg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to start by acknowledging the extensive work that Council has been doing since this tragic event on Hampshire Road, ranging from well-being checks with businesses to robust discussions with Victoria Police and state government, and of course listening to the community. Enough is enough. Youth violence has certainly reached quite a critical point, to the extent that a war veteran who fought on the battlefield said to me, "This is worse than being at war. When you're at war, you know where the war zone is. In the current situation, you don't know when and where you are going to be attacked." Those words are still ringing in my ears. I highly endorse what my fellow councillors said, and I'm not going to reiterate what has already been said. Youth crime prevention requires a multi-pronged approach. I would like to highlight also the high prevalence of domestic violence, which in many cases involve children, either as witnesses and or victims themselves. And may I also mention, Madam Mayor, that domestic violence is very much underreported. The need to invest more resources to deal with this scourge cannot be emphasized highly enough. Last but not least, more mental health services are required. The demand is far greater than the supply. Everyone has the right to feel safe and be protected from crimes that jeopardize safety.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? I'd like to say, Councillor Trung.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to speak tonight about community safety in Sunshine and across Brimbank. Safety is one of the most important issues for our residents, regardless of where people live, their age, or their background. Everyone deserves to feel safe in their neighborhood, on our street, in our parks, and when using public transport. I regularly speak with the residents who love living in Brimbank. They are proud of our diversity, our strong community spirit, and the opportunity that our city offers. However, many also share concern about the problem, antisocial behavior, road safety, and the feeling of safety, and the homeless people in the public space. Why statistics are important? Community confidence in equality important. If residents do not feel safe, then we must listen to those concerns and work together to address them. Reaching safety community requires a collective effort. Council have the role to play through the advocacy, urban design, lighting improvement, community program, and maintain public space. Victoria Police and local business, school, community organization, and residents themselves also play a critical role. We know that the prevention is often more effective than the treatment. Investing of the young people, support the family, reaching the opportunity for education and employment, and strengthening community connection all contributes to long-term safety outcome. As Sunshine continue to grow and attract investment, we have an opportunity to build a city center that is vibrant, welcoming, and safety for everyone. We want residents to feel proud of their community and confident about its future. I would also like to acknowledge the work of Victoria Police, now council officer, emergency service, and community group and volunteers who work every day to keep our community safe. Their effort make the real difference. Let us continue to working together to ensure that Sunshine and Brimbank remains flat, where people feel skilled, connected, and proud to go home. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bausch.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And look, I've been a long-time advocate for more police and safety in our community, and you don't have to take my word for it, but I've been repeatedly saying it at our meetings, especially at council's advocacy motions. Our voices weren't heard, and then what happened? Brimbank suffered the largest reduction of police numbers in the state. Brimbank lost equivalent to 25 police officers, dropping from 151 to 126. So that's a drop of police numbers of 19.8%, or nearly 20%. But on the contrary, the Crime Stats Agency's latest data for the year ending March 2026 shows that Brimbank's criminal incident rate was 7,400 per 100,000 residents, which is approximately 14% higher than the Victorian rate. Victim reports also increased by nearly 7%. Theft offences 10% up. Offences on street and footpaths increased by another 8%. And offences at public transport locations increased by a whopping 39%. In Sunshine alone, criminal incidents, it's like the one we just had, increased by 6.2%. Alleged offender incidents involving young people aged 12 to 17 increased by 13.1% in Brimbank, despite a statewide decline in youth alleged offending. In the Premier's response, and we do thank the Premier, to the crime, he announced $150 million towards the crime crackdown, including deploying 150 new PSOs to patrol major shopping centres and retail strips. And the problem is here, it's a strategic response, but how long is it until we get those PSOs actually out and on the beat? Now, less than 2 decades ago, I actually wanted to be a copper, and so I actually attended VicPol's training academy in Glen Waverley. I mean, it's yonks away from the west. In retrospect, it's about 54 kilometres from Sydenham, 51 kilometres from Taylor's Lakes, and about 40 from here in Sunshine. So I know the application process can take up to 6 months to get into the force, and that's including PSO. Then it's another 12-week course for the PSO to be trained at the training academy. So we might not see additional PSOs for another 9 months. But on the contrary, who will actually travel that far, which will be a 100-kilometre return trip every day to do training? So I think we do need some more facilities in the west, including a training facility for VicPol, which will attract actually applicants from the west. As I'm involved with Council's Audit and Risk Committee and the rep for the St Albans Town Centre Partnership Group, I'm continuously concerned with Council's compliance officers still patrolling St Albans. It's really not their job, and we've been saying prior that it's actually VicPol's job to patrol streets. So the lack of police is actually costing our ratepayers to the tune of $360,000 for us to deploy these compliance officers when it's really their job. Now, VicPol states that the police stations are closed or on reduced hours as more police are there free and on the beat. I've really never seen police really patrolling except now. And having police on horseback and they got their surveillance van or whatnot, I think it's pretty much a PR stunt. But look, to be honest, crime's out of control. Victim of crime applications of 90 days are not even being met, and it's proven that we've got weak bail laws. So I feel like the MPs are not doing much. Doesn't matter if they're Liberal or Labor or whatnot. I think it doesn't matter who wins the forthcoming election, but we need to have safer communities as a definite priority for Brimbank, and not just for now, 100 days before an election, but for our future and also for our children's future.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay. I'd just like to say a few words. In the days and weeks since the death of Mr. Van Viet Trong, this tragedy, the council has listened closely to the residents, the traders and community leaders. I have spent a lot of time in Sunshine in particular, and the message has been clear to me. People want to feel safe in their neighbourhoods, in their activity centres, on public transport and in the places where they work, shop and gather. The concerns we have heard are real and they deserve a serious response. Community safety has already been a priority for council before this incident. However, over the past 2 weeks, we have undertaken significant advocacy meeting with the Premier, ministers, members of Parliament, Victoria Police, traders and community representatives. Together with my fellow Western Region mayors, we have consistently called for 2 priorities: more police visibility and more prevention programs. This means that more visibility and police on our streets, expanded protective service officers and better access to police stations, alongside outreach programs like the Community Connector program and greater investment in youth services, mental health, alcohol and other drug services and homelessness responses. Everyone knows that police are just a deterrent. What we need to do, as you've all said, is get to the root of the cause, and the prevention programs like the Community Connector program, which will be based in Sunshine and St Albans, will be a great start. Our advocacy has reached well beyond Brimbank. Through 31 media interviews across local, state and national media, our community concerns have generated more than 330 pieces of coverage and reached an audience of 17.8 million people. Importantly, our community has been heard. We have seen a response at last. I want to acknowledge and thank the Victorian Government for the announcements made over the past week, including expanding Community Connectors outreach to Sunshine and St Albans, additional protective service officers, a new community safety infrastructure fund that will allow for additional police reservists to keep the stations open, which is something we've all been fighting for as well. I also want to acknowledge Victoria Police and thank them for the increased police presence in Sunshine over recent weeks. This has been noticed by the community and appreciated. Community safety, however, is a shared responsibility. While the Victorian Government and Victoria Police lead policing, justice and many other support services, Council has an important role in advocacy coordination, place management, creating safe and welcoming spaces. We have acted where we can. We have engaged directly with traders and strengthened our advocacy, removed infrastructure contributing to safety concerns, and are progressing further safety assessments and long-term improvements to our activity centres. We will keep listening to our businesses, our community, and continue to work together to create a safe and welcoming environment for all. While these announcements are welcome, what really matters most is the outcome on the ground. We want people to feel safe, supported, and the local businesses to have the confidence in returning to Sunshine and St Albans and all of our activity centres. This motion continues that work and demonstrates Council is totally committed to advocating, partnering and acting where it can to support safer, stronger and more vibrant communities. I commend the motion to Council. Councillors, I now put the motion to the vote. Can I have a mover? Deputy Mayor. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. 12.2, Planning Activity Update and Delegate Decisions and Planning Scheme Amendments, update July 26. I'll hand over to Director Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide Council with a line of sight to the status of planning permit applications and trends in planning approvals in Brimbank. Also to provide you with information on decisions made under delegated authority during the month of June of this year regarding planning permit applications and other matters, and also to provide you a status update on current planning scheme amendments as at the 31st of July 2026. Officers recommend that you note the planning activity update and delegated decisions as included at attachment 1 to the report, and also for you to note, recommend that you note the planning scheme amendment summary at attachment 3. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions to the Director? If not, can I have a mover for this motion, please? Councillor Crook.
I move the report as per the business papers. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do I have a seconder for the report? Councillor Nikolic.
I'd like to second the motion as per the shared screen.
Councillor Crook, would you like to speak to the report?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Nikolic, would you like to speak to the report?
No, thank you.
Would anyone like to speak to the report? I'll put the report to the vote. All those in favour? Report is carried. I move to 12.3, Brimbank Planning Scheme Amendment, C239 Brim, Housing and Neighbourhood Character Strategy. I hand over to Director Walsh.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to advise Council of the Department of Transport and Planning's decision to not authorise Amendment C239 Brim to implement the Brimbank Housing and Neighbourhood Character Strategy. Officers recommend that you note the decision of the department and the reasons detailed within the report and their not authorisation letter at attachment 1, and for you to also advise submitters to the strategy of the decision made by the department in relation to the planning scheme amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions to the Director? If not, do I have a mover for this report? Councillor Borg.
I'll move the report as per shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Trung.
I second will lie on the screen. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Borg, would you like to speak to the report?
Just briefly, Madam Mayor. It's highly disappointing and concerning to see that the Amendment C239 Brim was not authorised to the Brimbank Planning Scheme by the Department of Transport and Planning. Not only a lot of significant work and resources gone into the preparation of this amendment, but it will also have a significant impact on future planning and the community in Brimbank. It's true that there is a need of housing supply and affordability. The question is, at what price? When taking into the latest Victorian planning reforms into account and the subsequent requirement for Brimbank Council to update the housing strategy and other relevant policies, there is quite a price to pay. Does the social infrastructure, for example, is fit for purpose for such proposed increase in housing, especially here in Brimbank? And what about transport and connectivity? I would like to take this opportunity to thank also once again the submitters who participated in this amendment and to council officers who worked so hard and diligently in the preparation of this document.
Thank you. Councillor Trung, would you like to speak?
No, thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak to this report? I'll put the report to the vote. All those in favour? Report carried. I move to 12.4, Brimbank Green Wedge Management Plan 2010 Implementation Status Report, I hand over to Director Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide Council with an annual status report on the implementation of the Brimbank Greenwedge Management Plan 2010 and present to you at Attachment 1 the implementation status report. I draw to your attention, or to Council's attention, the fact that this is a 20-year management plan and it includes 96 actions within the plan, of which 57% have commenced or ongoing, and 28% are already complete. 15% of actions are not yet commenced, but this is not surprising given the length of the management plan and its implementation. Officers recommend that Council note the Brimbank Greenwedge Management Plan Implementation Status Report included at Attachment 1 to the documents. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions to the Director? If not, do I have a mover for this report? Councillor Deputy Mayor, Councillor Kerr.
I move the report as per the shared screen.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Crook.
I move the report as per business papers. Thank you.
Councillor Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak to the report?
Thank you. I support item 12.4 and importantly want to recognise the people who actually live and work within the Green Wedge. The Green Wedge is one of Brimbank's great assets, but I don't think we talk about it enough. It is a beautiful part of the municipality with significant environmental, agricultural, recreational and cultural value. Yet many people across Brimbank don't even realise what we have on our doorstep. I particularly welcome the support available to eligible landowners through the Sustainable Land Management Grant, providing up to $1,500 in financial assistance matched on a one-to-one basis to help undertake environmental improvement works on private land. That is important support because the people who live in the Green Wedge are not simply residents, they are also custodians of an incredibly important part of Brimbank. But I believe that we can do more. We should be looking at how we can better support these landowners to manage their properties, protect biodiversity, control weeds, pests, improve the land, and ultimately make most of this incredible asset that we have and preserve it for the entire community. The Green Wedge should not be seen simply as land that we need to protect from development. It should be seen as something we invest in and we celebrate. I would like to see greater investment, greater promotion and greater opportunities for the community to experience this part of Brimbank while respecting the people who live there and the environmental values that make it so special. We need to work with our Green Wedge landowners, not simply impose expectations on them. They are an important part of protecting Brimbank's environmental future. So I support this report, but I also hope that as we move forward, we continue looking at what more we can do to support our landowners, increase investment, and showcase this beautiful part of Brimbank, because the Green Wedge belongs at the heart of our vision for Brimbank's future, and the people who live there deserve our support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Crook, would you like to speak to the report?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Would anyone like to speak to the report? Thank you. I'd also like to echo the words said by our Deputy Mayor. It is not only a very crucial and important part of our community, it is indeed a heritage, full of heritage, archaeological, and also part of the Greater Sunbury Green Wedge, which contains a lot of heritage, but it also contains a lot of opportunities and for our community to visit and learn, and that comes, of course, with greater investment, as Councillor Kerr has said. Does anyone else want to speak to the report? I put the report to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried. 12.5. Amended planning applications P341/2020 and P386/2020 for 32A Green Gully Road, Keilor. I hand it to Director Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider an amendment to the already approved development plan under the Development Plan Overlay Schedule and a concurrent planning amendment to a planning permit for use and development of the land at 32A Green Gully Road, Keilor, for a residential aged care facility, 15 dwellings and a residential subdivision, noting that this is within the Melbourne Airport Environs Overlay Schedule 2, and also the application is to provide access alterations to the road in a Transport Zone 2, and also to deliver associated business identification sign there on Green Gully Road. Officers have undertaken the assessment and recommend that Council approve the amended development plan for the residential aged care 15 dwellings and subdivision based on the plans at attachment 4 to this report, and that Council issue a notice of decision to amend the planning permit for the use and development of the land as detailed in the report, subject to the conditions detailed at attachment 7 to the report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Director. Does any councillor have a question for Director Walsh? If not, do I have a mover for this report, this application? Councillor Bausch.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the motion as per shed screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Crook.
I move it as per the business papers. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Bausch, would you like to speak to this?
Certainly, Madam Mayor. I think this is another case of right application, wrong location. Before approval was granted for this original application, the applicant and Melbourne Airport already negotiated an outcome that would effectively limit the number of people who lived on site and therefore impacted by, or limit the impact by aircraft noise. The residential aged care facility was previously approved to contain 72 beds, or the accommodation units, and 57 independent units, which would result in a total of occupancy of 172 persons. The number of accommodation units proposed is being increased to 131 rooms containing 146 beds, an additional 59 rooms and 74 beds, which is considerably more than the original approved by our current permit. So we've gone through council prior, and they've had an agreement, and now the applicant are there again wanting to increase capacity. The site sits within the Melbourne Airport Environs Overlay Schedule 2, and you can argue that the increased residential density directly conflicts with the planning policies meant to limit high-density human habitation under the active airport flight paths. I therefore personally oppose this amended planning application and side with the airport due to the concerned, increased noise level, and hence the structure will be 3 stories tall.
Sorry, Councillor Bausch, you
Yes,
moved this as application, but you're opposing it?
Oh, yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay, you can't move it if you're opposed. You can speak against it.
Yes, I'll speak against it then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to note, Councillor Bausch, that the recommendation on the screen is to approve the...
Yes, I'm not.
Can we note you as speaking against it, however you've moved it?
Yes, so
Can we get someone else to move it?
if you're a mover of the motion, that would indicate that you're in support of the motion. Okay. Could we get another mover?
Can we please have a mover for this motion to be approved? Councillor Borg. Councillor Borg.
Yes, I'm happy to move this report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
As per share screen.
Thank you. And Councillor Cook, would you second it?
I'm happy to second it. Thank you,
Again?
Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Borg, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am happy to support this report. I have spent a lot of time thinking about it. I understand that the aircraft noise is of some concern. However, having read the report closely, I am satisfied with the requirement of noise attenuation measures for the construction of the building. It's important to note also that the proposal does not prejudice the operations of Melbourne Airport, as it complies with the requirement of Clause 45.08 Melbourne Airport Environment Overlay MAEO2. I am therefore happy to support this report.
Thank you. Councillor Crook, would you like to speak to it?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly, this planning application aligns with Brimbank Council's priorities for more housing, more healthcare, and I welcome and thank Melbourne Airport for their feedback. To that, their main concerns is to do with the flight paths and to do with the aircraft noise and the potential impact to the residents of the facility. I'm satisfied that the acoustic isolation is of a much higher standard than of a typical residential development. It's of a higher standard to that of a healthcare facility, and therefore I'm satisfied that it won't impact the residents there, and I'm happy to approve this application. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? Okay. Yes, Councillor Farm.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I just want to speak in support of this report. Reason that I heard from the submitter that is actually reduced the hospital bed stress that is already stressed to the maximum. That if they have a nursing home and with proper care, that will help to reduce the stress of our emergency services and hospital beds. So that one thing. And I also satisfied that with the amended submission, it won't affect any of the Melbourne Airport operation. So I speaking in support of this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for the report? Okay, would anyone like to speak against it? Or continue?
Yeah, thank you, Madam. Yeah, just a bit left. It's look, I'm all for accommodation and homes. I know we definitely have a housing shortage, but just a case of right application, but just the wrong location. And I don't want to see the elderly occupants be severely impacted by the noise level with this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak either for or against this application? I put the application to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. All those against? Thank you. Motion carried. 12.6 is Governance Report, August 2026. I now hand over to Acting Director Mullen to discuss.
The Governance Report is a standing report to Council presented in accordance with best practice and good governance principles to ensure compliance with the requirements of the Local Government Act, Model Code of Conduct and Councillor Support Policy. In this month's Governance Report, Council is asked to consider and note a summary of recent governance activity, contracts entered into and works approved in accordance with S7 Instrument of Subdelegation, records of informal meetings of councillors, delegates and representatives reports, councillor declarations and representatives by members of Parliament. The report also seeks that Council note and update in relation to the state waste reforms, note submission to the Brimbank submission lodged by officers to the draft Maribyrnong Integrated Transport Strategy, and appoint representatives to the Melbourne Regional Landfill Community Reference Group.
Thank you. Are there any questions to the Acting Director? If not, can I have a mover for this report? Councillor Crook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the report, and I note there to appoint Joe Bausch and Kim Tin Trung as representatives for the committee. Thank you.
For the Ravenhall Committee. Thank you. Do I have a seconder for this report? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Kerr.
I second the report as per the business papers.
Thank you. Councillor Crook, would you like to speak to the report?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak to the report?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Would anyone like to speak to the report? I put the Councillor Bausch.
Thank you. It's all positive, I promise. As I'm the Brimbank delegate for the Metropolitan Transport Forum Committee, I particularly want to be focusing on the draft integrated transport strategy of this report. Earlier this year, Brimbank Council released moving Brimbank our integrated transport strategy for consultation purposes. And the consultation presents a timely opportunity to align strategic directions and to build foundation for ongoing collaboration on transport planning in Melbourne's West. Being brought up from inner suburbs, particularly attending in schools in Caulfield and Paran, I've lived with trams, and trams are so iconic to Melbourne. Actually, Melbourne holds 2 major Guinness World Records relating to our tram system. You know, we have our largest tram network in the world, yet we only have 2 pathetic tram lines that run in the west, Route 82, which is Moonee Ponds to Footscray, which is the 3rd shortest route on the tram network, and Route 57. So I endorse the draft Brimbank strategy that supports the western extension of the tram network to deliver high frequency and high capacity public transport connection between Sunshine and Maribyrnong, and could become a connection both towards High Point and towards Footscray. I want to advocate for a more extensive tram network that would terminate at Deer Park, which is only about 17 kilometres from the city. Hence, other current tram network travel beyond that, and there's no surprise, they're all from the other side of town. You've got Route 75, which is Vermont South to Docklands, 22.8 kilometres, 86, which is Bundoora to Docklands, that's 22.2. Route 16 is to Kew to Melbourne University, that's 20 kilometres, so they're all over 20 kilometres. And yet the closest thing to Brimbank is Route 82, which only runs 9 kilometres. So the high population and employment growth in the Western Melbourne region will affect Brimbank's transport system. Close to 1 million people currently reside in this region already, which is more than the populations of Australian cities such as Gold Coast and Canberra, who actually have trams. And Gold Coast just released this week that they've opened a 7-kilometre tram extension from Broadbeach to Burleigh Heads. So both Canberra and the Gold Coast have trams, yet the population of Melbourne's west is expected to increase to 1.8 million in 2050, and there's no tram beyond Footscray. So we'll continue to advocate for a tram line to Deer Park via Sunshine. The West got swindled and have been given the raw deal once again. West is not the best when it comes to trams and transport. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this report? Councillor Nguyen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to briefly speak on my recent meeting with the Brimbank Youth Council. I just want to say there's such a intelligent and articulate cohort that we have this year, and they're so switched on our local issues. They're really concerned about cost of living, housing, our lack of transport infrastructure, and they're also concerned about data centres as well. Like, we are so fortunate to have such young leaders who are concerned about community and want to get involved to improve their community. And it's so important that we activate young people to lead and make decisions about what's important to them. So I'm really fortunate to be working with this cohort of youth council this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to the report? I'll put the report to the vote. All those in favour? Report carried. 12.7, Annual Action Plan and Budget Progress Report, Quarter 4, June 26, and hand over to Acting Director, Mr. Mullen. Thank you.
This report provides the final quarterly update on the Council Plan Action Plan and Budget 25-26 for the period from April to June 2026. It confirms that all 69 actions across the 4 strategic pillars, people, places, prosperity and leadership and governance, have been completed. The final report highlights the Council progress in fulfilling its commitments to the community and meets the legislative obligations under the Local Government Act 2020 to monitor and report on the implementation of the Council Plan. It is recommended that the Council notes the status and completion of all actions as detailed in the attached quarterly 4 progress report.
Thank you. Are there any questions to Acting Director Mullen? Can I have a mover for this report, please? Councillor Farm?
I move the report per piece of paper. Thank you.
Seconder, Councillor Borg.
I'll second the report.
Councillor Farm, thank you. Councillor Farm, would you like to speak to the report?
It would be amiss if I don't speak to this report regarding the council officer and all the staff hard work. So through you, Madam Mayor, reviewing of our end of year quarter 4 progress report is one of our most important duty as councillor. Is it our transparency, responsibility and demonstrating to our community that ratepayer dollars are being spent effectively across all corners of Brimbank. Toward municipality-wide achievement across Brimbank, with major infrastructure and road work, across the entire municipality, council have delivered on major capital work programs, resurfacing arterial local roads, rehabilitating footpath, improving road safety near school zones, and renewing drainage infrastructure to build flood resilient in our suburb. In part and recreation and climate resilience, we have seen significant investment in sport facility upgrades, pavilion renewals, and park improvements from Sunshine down to Deer Park and up to Water Gardens. Through our urban forest initiative, thousands of new trees have been planted municipality-wide to expand shade and tackle heat risk. In community health and youth and social services, council have maintained robust delivery of essential frontline service, supporting young people through youth outreach programs, caring for older residents through home care support, and funding vibrant multicultural events that bring our diverse community together. In Economic Development and Activity Center, across our Brimbank Activity Hub, we have supported local traders association, enhanced street cleansing schedule, and maintained proactive compliance to keep our commercial street vibrant and attractive. Toward my ward, which is St. Albans East Ward highlights, at local street and footpath upgrades in St. Albans East specifically, this budget deliver translates into practical outcome, targeted road resurface, curb repairs, and food renewal, ensuring safe mobility for local families, mobility scooter user and seniors. In greenings and local park amenity, we expanded street canopy coverage along residential streets and upgrade open spaces across St. Albans East to provide cooler, welcoming recreation area for nearby households. To local traders and resident support, we prioritize street cleanliness, rapid graffiti removal, and local business support across the St. Albans commercial strip to boost foot traffic and trader confidence. I want to extend my sincere thanks to our council officer, depot team, and staff for finishing the 2025-26 financial year strong and delivering meaningful results for St. Albans East and the broader community. I am pleased to endorse this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Borg, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly, in addition to what Councillor Pham highlighted with regards to this report, I also want to highlight a few more. This report includes a highlight on Men's Health Week, which included a number of health, well-being, and social inclusion activities. I want to mention that I did attend the Men's Health Day at the Alban Vale Community Center, and it was quite a productive day, and it's always an event that I look forward to from one year to another. Another highlight is around family violence prevention sessions through early program. Earlier this evening in the report 12.1 on safety, I did highlight the domestic violence issue that we have here in Brimbank and of course in other parts of Victoria as well as Australia, and the need of such preventive measures that need to be taken. It's pleased to know and to see that Council delivered 19 sessions altogether, which included 5 family violence, information and education. Council was also involved with community and with regards to the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence with Community Plus. Another action that I would like to highlight is empowering local voices, multicultural women's leadership. May I also wed, Madam Mayor, that we and you and that some other councillors attended the presentation of the awards for this group of women, and it was so amazing to see them delivering a presentation and to see some of them who have come such a long way, because we have seen them from the very beginning, and to see them coming this far is such a great joy. So thank you, Brimbank Council, for providing such leadership programs. These are just a few highlights, of course. It's always a great pleasure to read this report, and I always encourage the community to have a read of this report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to the report? I put the report to the vote. All those in favour? Report carried. I move to 12.8, which is updated data centre advocacy position, and hand over to Acting Director, Mr. Mullen.
This report seeks Council's endorsement to update its advocacy position on data centres to include a moratorium on data centre approvals. In addition to the report, seeks Council's endorsement on a notice of motion to be submitted at the next MAV State Council meeting in October. The motion calls for a moratorium on the approvals of new and expanded data centres. The report also seeks Council endorsement of the submission by the Western Alliance for Greenhouse Action to the Senate inquiry into AI and data centres. The submission calls for greater controls to manage the impacts of centres on the community, a stronger voice for local government in policy development and approvals of data centres, and a pause on approvals for new hyperscale data centres until appropriate safeguards and policy reforms are implemented.
Thank you, Acting Director Mullen. Are there any questions, councillors? If not, do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Crook?
I move the report as per business papers.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Nguyen?
I second the report as per business papers. Thank you.
Councillor Crook, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a fast-moving, emerging issue. And I mean, just think back a couple of years, do you remember when AI first came out? I mean, I remember that iconic video of Will Smith eating pasta and how jacked up it looked. And then fast forward to today, that video, it looks like you really filmed him eating pasta. I mean, it's changed so quickly. And I just want to thank residents for bringing this AI data centres, and I want to thank officers for hitting the ground running on this advocacy priority, because it is a fast-moving issue and it's just before our eyes. I mean, AI data centres, it is such a complex issue, and it affects all levels of government and even internationally. From the size and the scale and the positioning of the building itself to the water and electricity usage of the building, and even the ethical uses of AI. You know, generating child exploitation material. 60% of the internet is apparently AI to AI interactions with no human involvement at all, and even a social media platform where AI agents talk to each other. But coming right back down to council and council level, we don't have a seat at the table. We absolutely do not have a seat at the table. We have no say on what is happening right now, and this is being pushed through by the state government without consultation with council. And I mean, if you look at what's happening in Footscray, a data centre there is now being increased in size by several times capacity, and with no input from local council. So that's why I support the moratorium here, and I support our advocacy priority, because council does need a seat at the table, and we do need to have a say in the planning regulations here. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Nguyen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since the release of the National AI Plan in 2025, we have seen a boom in AI data centre proposals, especially in Victoria, where the Development Facilitation Program allows for data centre applications to be submitted directly to the Minister for Planning, which means these proposals, as Councillor Cook has said, bypass local councils, but there are also no community consultations. Already in Brimbank, we have data centres in Deer Park, Derrimut and Brooklyn, with data centres also in our neighbouring areas of Tullamarine, West Footscray, Spotswood and Plumpton. Plumpton proposed for a hyperscale 350 hectare AI data center, which is equivalent to 175 MCGs, and no one has asked for these. So once again, the West is a dumping ground for undesirable facilities where we are forced to bear the burden of what the government has deemed a necessary development for future infrastructure and economic benefits. But it's highly questionable what these benefits are and at what cost. Communities right across the West, from Footscray to Sunshine to Truganina to Melton and Diggers Rest, have a grocery list of concerns that have not been addressed, while these developments get fast-tracked in as quickly as 75 days. And I'll just list a few of these concerns. Public health concerns such as impact on sleep from noise pollution, damage to our local waterways and ecosystems, increase in surface heat in communities already suffering from the highest urban heat, burden on our local utilities, plagiarism on intellectual and creative properties, and impact on employment, especially for vulnerable people such as youth, women, and elderly. Our communities are already vulnerable, and instead of addressing the long-standing issues to better our communities, the government once again are using diverse multicultural communities as a dumping ground. Instead of funding for more public housing, public hospitals, public education, and transport infrastructure, we get AI data centres that no one have asked for and no one locally will benefit. This is why I support Council's updated advocacy position to include a call for a moratorium and encourage my fellow councillors to endorse until all community concerns are addressed and all appropriate independent health, safety, economic and environmental impact assessments have been conducted, results publicly shared with our community, and safeguards are in place. The government should not approve any more new approvals or expansions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other, Councillor Farm?
Through you, Mother Mayor, I just want to echo what been said by my fellow councillor. I want to add in my part as well. While data centers are becoming increasingly important part of Victoria digital infrastructure, our experience on ground tells us that's where and how they are delivered matters. At Municipal Association of Victoria meeting on the 24th of July, as a proxy, I raised this abstract concern alongside many of our neighbouring Western Region Council. Across Melbourne West, we are already experiencing the cumulating impacts of rapid data centre expansion, creating heavy pressure on our electricity and water networks. Growing amenity impacts where sites sit too close to residential area, and adding exposure to heat and climate risk in community that is already vulnerable. These are also serious emerging concerns about the impact of local biodiversity and a long-term cumulative effect on concentrated data center development, which currently remain poorly understood. At present, councils are often brought into this process far too late, or not at all, despite local council being best placed to understand local conditions, infrastructure constraints, and community expectation. The lack of early engagement does not serve councils, the state government, our community, or the proponent wells. If Victoria wants to continue attracting data center investment at scale and do so sustainably, council must be treated as strategic partners, not statutory bystander. Brimbank, together with our Western Region partners, is calling for a greater formalized role in the planning process. Planning framework must include mandatory standards that address setbacks, water efficiency, design, landscaping, heat mitigation, and strict noise storage limits. These guardrails are vital to ensure that data center development protects nearby residential area across Brimbank and broader West. Ensuring this investment does not impose new environmental or amenity burden to our communities. I strongly endorse this update advocacy position. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Kerr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I speak tonight with deep concern about the rapid expansion of data centres, particularly here in Melbourne's West. For years it has felt like the West is where this government and industry go when they need somewhere to put the things that other communities don't want. We've carried our share of industrial development. We have lived with the impacts of the traffic, the pollution, and the pressure on our infrastructure. And now we're facing this emerging issue of massive data centres. I have serious concerns about what this could mean for our community and all of our quality of life. These facilities require enormous amounts of electricity and water, and they require huge amounts of land and supporting infrastructure. The agenda itself recognises concerns around electricity demand, water use, backup generators, noise, electronic waste, and potential impacts on biodiversity. My question is really simple. At what point do we say in the West, enough is enough? I do not want large-scale data centres expanding in our backyard without proper consideration of the people who already live here. I want transparency. I want our community to understand exactly what is being proposed, where these facilities are going, how much electricity and water will they use, what infrastructure will require and what the long-term impacts will be. And importantly, I want the West to be given the same consideration as every other part of Melbourne. Our communities deserve to have their quality of life considered before decisions are made. I strongly support Council taking on a firm advocacy position on this issue, including the proposed moratorium on new or expanded data centre approvals. This isn't about being anti-technology or anti-investment. It's about asking whether the development is right for our community, our infrastructure and our future. Most concerning to me is the children and the youth. The proposed data centre in Plumpton, just outside of Sydenham, is a massive concern. Councillor Lucy Nguyen noted that it was 100 and something MCGs. I mean, just try and wrap your head around that, the volume of that. We don't deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Borg.
Briefly, Madam Mayor, I would like to share my sentiments towards this fast emerging issue around data centers in the West. It has become quite a hot topic. As already mentioned, data centers use a huge amount of water and electricity. The West is already experiencing high urban heat. And there are vulnerable industrial areas. Important regulations are required. So is the need for transparency and due processes. I highly welcome Council's recommendation to have a moratorium on these data centers. Thank you.
Councillor Dang.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. From all the councillors sharing, the moratorium is a responsible step. It ensures that approval pause until stronger planning controls, mandatory sustainability standards, and proper community safeguards are in place. It also reinforces the need for Council to have a meaningful role in assessing these developments, particularly given the scale of energy, water, and land impacts emerging across Melbourne's West. So I want to acknowledge Council for a clear, well-considered piece of work that strengthens our leadership on climate resilience, planning reform, and community well-being. I commend the report to Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for Councillor Bausch?
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm also in favour of the moratorium and the updated council position. Look, currently it seems like you need, there's more permit work and regulation to deal with a cubby house or a pod more than 10 square metres than it is to build a super data centre close to residential homes, just like our fellow councillors stated in Plumpton, which is 350 hectares, or in layman terms, 3.5 or 3.5 million square metres. And the public will look at it. So you need a permit from council for a 10 square metre cubby house to put in your backyard, but a 3.5 million square metre data centre can be bypassed by the state. So given the increased community concerns with data centres and their potential risk and impacts, and rightly so, Brimbank Council has voiced concerns about how and where data centres are established, and wanting council being brought into the process too late or not at all. Melbourne councils are covering the booming Western corridor and banding together to form a powerful block and to fight what they say is a lack of consultation concerning the influx of data centres. So I think the Victorian government must urgently provide councils with a clear statewide planning framework for data centres before communities are left in, or more communities are left in limbo. Brimbank needs leadership on data centres, not planning by guesswork. The state government should release its strategy without delay. And currently, when applying for approval, data centres apparently can choose to apply or be assessed by either the council or state government, and there's no surprise there, they're all gone by state government. So, look, I believe it's people before profits, and let's get more open and transparency from all forms of government, especially the state, and involve the community to be consulted. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, anyone else like to speak for or against? I would just like to add my voice that I attended the roundtable with councils along with the CEO, with Minister Dimopoulos, and it was loud and clear from the Western councils that we are absolutely against not having a seat at the table in the planning process, and also I did raise that I believe that they will become the new landfills for the West. I also have severe ethical issues with AI and the influence and impact on AI in local government. I think local government is the last vestige of human interaction with our community, and AI more and more is dumbing our community down, and also confidentiality is another issue with AI. But I will fight so that we can have that independence, so people can create art and it not be copied and also replicated by lazy technology. So thank you for your contribution. I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried. I move to 12.9, Establishment of Deferred Income Reserve, to Director Vidalis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this brief is to seek Council's approval to establish a deferred income reserve. As you may know, over the past few years, Brimbank has received advanced payment of funding of grants in advance of the financial year or years it is allocated to. An example of this is the significant proportion of the Commonwealth Financial Assistance Grant allocated for the 2026-27 financial year. The officer recommendation is that Council approves the establishment of a deferred income reserve in accordance with the Council's reserve policy and resolve the recommended treatments that support good financial management of these funds.
Thank you. Are there any questions to the Director? If not, do I have a mover for this report? Councillor Dang. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move the report as per share screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Nikolic.
I'd like to second that motion as per shared screen.
Thank you. Councillor Dang, would you like to speak to the report?
Yeah, thank you. This is the straightforward and sensible financial management measure and support our leadership and governance objective and ensure our budgeting remains transparent and aligned with the community priorities. So I commend this report to Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nikolic, would you like to speak to the report?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Would anyone else like to speak to the report? I put the report to the vote. All those in favour? Report carried. I move to 12.10, 2026 to 2030 procurement policy to Director Vidalis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this brief is for Council to consider the adoption of the 2026-2030 procurement policy. Council's current procurement policy was adopted in November 2021. Section 108 of the Local Government Act requires Council to review the procurement policy at least once every 4 years during the Council term. The revised procurement policy is based on best practice while being tailored to reflect Brimbank's needs and context, including strategies like our Community Vision 2040, the Social Justice Charter, and Climate Emergency Plan. This policy provides a framework for procurement activities that promotes open and fair competition, delivers value for money, and upholds the principles of transparency, poverty, and accountability. Importantly, this policy also strengthens Council's commitment to the equitable bottom line, embedding economic, environmental, social, and ethical considerations into our procurement planning and decision-making, including establishing a minimum 10% weighting allocation to one or multiple categories, including local, social, and environmental considerations for all requests for quotations or tenders. The Office's recommendation is that Council adopts this policy. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Director. Are there any questions to the Director? If not, do I have a mover for this report? Councillor Nikolic?
I'd like to move the officer report as per the documents.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Nguyen?
I second the report as per the shared screen. Thank you.
Councillor Nikolic, would you like to speak to the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly to touch on the aspect that I'm satisfied this document puts the interests of our community at the front of our decision making. There was a line in there that really stood out to me that our Brimbank Council plan states that serving the Brimbank community is why council exists in the first place. So this document really should be a reflection that we've thought carefully about how every single dollar is spent. We talked at the start of the council meeting about initiatives to engage disadvantaged and at-risk youth, and there's some strategic drivers in here that help inform when we enter contracts such as local jobs for local people, and it goes on to discuss how we can incorporate different KPIs when negotiating the contract, and some of those explicitly refer to young people experiencing barriers, that we should be purchasing goods and services from social enterprises where appropriate, those that create direct employment and training opportunities for young people, and also job readiness and capacity building for them, particularly those businesses who are taking on a certain number of apprentices or trainees as well. And it goes on to share that businesses will be held in a higher regard, those that are promoting gender equality, those that are creating new employment opportunities for identified disadvantaged groups, for disabled people as well. There was similarly, a note in the previous report that Council has supported 680 community members to expand their pathways to employment. That was through food safety handling, barista food, beverage service training, and white card training. So this will really go hand in hand as a next step on how we can support our local community when we do enter such contracts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to the report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This update to our procurement policy is such an important piece of work, and I thank our officers for working on this. Procurement is ultimately about how council spends public money and how our purchasing and contracts should reflect the values of our community. I really strongly welcome the new ethical framework, the quadruple bottom line, where before we confirm a contract with a vendor, officers are looking at considerations around economics, environmental, social, ethical considerations, and value for money. Value for money should mean more than simply choosing the cheapest option. And under this updated policy, Council is committed in our support for local businesses. This minimum 10% weighting for local, social, and environmental considerations creates more opportunities for local businesses, local employment and training. This means in our pursuit for value for money, it's not at the expense of workers' rights, human rights, or ethical supply chains. Council should never knowingly use public money to support exploitation. That means considering whether workers are paid fairly, working in safe conditions, protected from modern slavery and exploitation, and covered under appropriate labour standards. This policy specifically commits Council to ensuring supply chains adhere to local, national and international labour standards, working with suppliers that follow fair labour and safe workplace practices, and complying with modern slavery laws. With our updated procurement policy, Council is not simply asking if a contract is good value for money, but it's also asking what are we supporting with our ratepayers' money and who bears the cost of producing it. This is particularly important when considering modern slavery and serious human rights abuses, including situations where procurement or logistics chains could contribute to or benefit from those abuses. Ultimately, Council has purchasing power, and with that comes responsibility. We can support local businesses, protect workers, promote ethical supply chains, and ensure public money is spent in a way that reflects our community's values. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Are there any councillors who'd like to speak for the motion or against the motion? I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried. The last item is 12.11, contract number 23/3287, Arboriculture Maintenance Works, increased total contract value. I hand over to Director Levers for this report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report seeks council approval to increase the contract value for the existing contract for the provision of tree maintenance works. The contract was approved by council in December 2022 at an estimated value of just under $6.5 million. The expenditure has now reached that level and officers are seeking approval to increase this to enable additional tree works under this contract. The cost of these works and the estimate have been included in this year's annual budget. Officers have assessed the contractor as providing good value and that increasing the expenditure with the current contractor offers best value and lower risk than undertaking a separate procurement process for this work. I commend it to council for consideration.
Thank you. Has anyone got any questions for Director Levers regarding this report? Do I have a mover for the report? Councillor Farm?
I move the report as published in the paper. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Borg?
I'll second the report as per shared screen.
Councillor Farm, would you like to speak to the report?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Borg, would you like to speak? Would anyone like to speak to the report? I put the report to the vote. All those in favour? Report carried. Thank you. That's the end of our officer reports. Notices of motion. There are no notices of motion this evening. Notices of rescission. There are no notices of rescission. Urgent business. Madam CEO, is there any urgent business tonight?
There is no urgent business. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Item 16 is confidential business. There is only one item of confidential business. May I have a move of a motion to close the meeting in accordance with section 662A of the Local Government Act 2020 to members of the public for the consideration of 16.1, which has been designated confidential. Councillor Nikolic.
I move the motion that's on the shared screen.
Seconder. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Kerr.
I second the motion as per the shared screen.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who's currently viewing the live stream of this meeting. The meeting is now closed to the members of the public at 9:04 p.m. and will not reopen to the public at the conclusion of the confidential business. I thank you all for attending and for your interest in tonight's meeting. I instruct Channel 31 to stop live streaming this meeting. Thank you.